Welcome to the Business Credit and Financing Show. Each week we talk about the growth strategies that matter most to entrepreneurs. Listen in as we discuss the secrets to getting credit and money to start and grow your business. And enjoy as we talk with seasoned business owners, coaches, and industry leaders on a variety of topics from advertising and marketing to the nuts and bolts of running a highly successful business. And now to the guest host of our show, financial expert Megan Christensen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. I have the one and the only Mark Kohler, who is a speaker, an author. He's an accountant extraordinaire and somehow makes accounting fun. Is that terrible of me to say, Mark? Are you offended?
No, I'm trying to keep it real. It's good.
Yeah.
Some people like that I'm more of a lawyer than an accountant. Other times they like the accountant more than a lawyer, and I just play into whatever they want to hear. So
I was going to say, you're a lawyer, you're an author. Do you sleep? That's the main question I have for you.
Someday.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I am so excited to have you here today. I am just grateful that you're taking the time to come in and share some great information with our audience and with business owners overall. I know right now with the pandemic is a hard time for a lot of business owners, and that word doesn't seem to do it justice. You know, you and I are always talking to business owners, and I think right now I'm having a lot of those discussions that are hard for business owners. How do I keep my doors open? How do I keep going? What do I do? And those are not easy discussions, and I think you're experiencing the same on your end.
Oh yeah, it's been really hard because I serve small business owners. And by the way, thanks for having me. Yeah. I'm trying to just get out and help spread the word on the options people have under the stimulus package, because so many people are hurting. It's so terrible. I'm sick of turning on the TV and hearing about hand sanitizer and distancing. I want to see more about these people, well, frankly, protesting and just going around the country saying we're hurting too. And anyway, we'll start going down some political rabbit hole if I'm not careful, and I don't want to offend anyone. We're nervous about getting sick too, but oh yeah. My gosh, the financial devastation may be worse than the medical, but we'll see.
I'm right there with you, and you're right. I won't take us down the political side of it either, but man, it is painful, and I agree. What's better, you know, the expense of our health or the expense to the economy? And there's so much great debate on that right now. It's quite interesting. So,
well,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I am again glad to be here because. And I know we got to dive into it. There's so much to talk about, but the stimulus package, there's been a lot of confusion, misdirection, and a lot of people that have just gotten what they've needed. The money ran out. We're right on the cusp of phase 2. Some of you that are listening to this podcast, that money's already arrived and gone. But there's still questions about how do I spend the PPP? What do I do if I didn't get it? And we've got lots of options. We've got a lot we've been figuring out in this process. So I think this is a powerful webinar. I want people to have a piece of paper and pen handy. And I know some of you catching this via podcast. I'll do my best to describe what I'm writing on a board so you can take notes as well.
Well, definitely. And we'll put this on the podcast, but it's also there on YouTube. So if you do catch this on podcast, you can also watch the videos on YouTube, and that way you can get all the information. I think it never hurts to listen to Mark Kohler twice. So
you're so kind, thanks.
You know, it's what I do. So you're right. Let's dive in because we have so much to talk about. I know in our pre-meeting you said, how long do I have? And because we want to make sure that we cram this pack full of actionable items. So I agree, have a pen and paper, write down everything that you want to take action on or that you want to research and get more information on. So let's dive in. Where do you want to start with?
Okay.
Well, we talked about PPP, we talked about the CARES Act. How can business owners, PPP funds are out. they're working on trying to approve a new round of it, but that's likely going to go very quickly too. How in the world are you advising people to navigate through this world right now?
Great question. So here's, and sometimes we've got to start at the top, kind of this 30,000 foot view and zoom in. And there's several other options besides the PPP. So if some of you are like, gosh darn it, I didn't get the money, I missed the boat, my banker screwed me over, whatever the problem is, hey, we've got people we're telling not to get the PPP, there's option 2. So under the stimulus package, and I know you've got a list of questions of many of your followers that are like, Megan, when you meet with Mark, make sure you get this answer. So
absolutely, I've got this list up.
I won't ramble on too long on each of these points, then I'll shut up and you can drill down on whatever you want or just say keep going.
You got it.
With the stimulus package, there are 10 strategies that are legitimate options. That's right, under the stimulus package, 10 options. I've hit a 6 out of the 10 with one client and got them about $230,000 of free money. Now their business needed it, but that was all going to be forgiven or free. We've had some clients get maybe just 50 grand, some get close to 500 grand, but it's a combination of as many of the 10 you can get. And I know some people are like, oh, I thought it was just PPP. Oh, well, it's idle. That's what we talk about. No, there's 10. So,
I like this.
Yeah. So let me list the 10, and then I'll tell you where I think we need to focus for our business owners today, if I could.
Absolutely.
So on my little whiteboard here behind me, we'll go there, and hopefully all of you can see this, but I'll read them off. The number one is the stimulus checks. 60 million people got an automatic or an online deposit on their bank account last week. This week they're trying to do close to 100 million wires, and then it's going to be the paper check thing. And there's so many of you, Megan. Have you got your stimulus check, Megan? Your family, anybody you know?
I'm not cool enough to get one.
Yeah, so I know you're hardworking and successful, and if you make too much, you don't get one. But it's I've still got so many people that haven't seen their checks yet, and then getting their college students' checks, making sure their kids are filing their return, big deal. So whole other topic, probably won't go there today, but it's one to make sure you're on top of. I've had clients that got divorced last year. IRS doesn't know their address. Do they have the banking information? Do they know they're single? Are they 22 and now on their own? All these issues are forcing people to actually file. Even though we have this 90-day extension where we don't need to file, I'm telling you, you got to file because you can't get the PPP without it or this, that, and another. Number 2 is I'm probably going to talk about the SBA Loan Forbearance. I just bring it up. Any of you that already have a loan, you could get one automatically. This is a 7A, a 504. So if you already have an SBA loan, they're going to make the payments for you for 6 months. You don't have to apply, but you want to make sure your bank's on top of it. Many of my clients that have SBA loans already just got an email, they'll make your payment, you're good for 6 months. Like, what? So that's out there for people to consider. Number 3 is the retirement plan access, which has been, the lid's been lifted off. No penalties to pull money out of any type of retirement account up to 100,000, and you've got 3 years to pay the tax back. And if you pay the tax before the 3 years is up, great, or you can put the money back. I mean, it's just like if you need to tap into your retirement account, you can borrow more money from your 401k. We've got Roth provisions that are cool. I've got 5 strategies of how to tackle your retirement account. Now, I tell clients, I don't like them tapping into their retirement account unless it's absolutely needed, or your business is so freaking awesome, you're gonna be able to put the money back in 6 months to a year. I do not want to touch that sacred money. But that's out there. So we have retirement plans. Now, those 3, Megan, are kind of like the 3 that affect everybody, whether you have a small business or not. Now we get into these last 7, and this is where it gets tricky. The first question I talk about is unemployment, because I have some small business owners that are saying, why should I just go claim unemployment? What would I get? Can I qualify? And again, the small business owner in the history of our country has never been able to go apply for unemployment. You had to have a job and get fired. Well, now you can go get unemployment as a small business owner. And that looks, we're getting our clients from around the country giving us reports of good and bad experiences there, and learning on the fly what I need to do in one state compared to another state.
Right.
So there's really kind of an unemployment part two. There's unemployment. Are you going to claim unemployment?
Mm-hmm.
Those of you that have family members in your business, maybe you have your spouse or some of the kids that are on payroll claim unemployment while you continue to run the business. And that's part two, which we'll come to. So if you're single, flying solo, and you don't have anyone on your payroll besides you, hey, that's cool, solopreneur. But we've been teaching for years, I want your spouse on payroll so we can fund retirement accounts and this and that. And so I've got clients who are like, I just fired my spouse. Boom, you can get up to $1,000 a week. You're talking over $4,000 a month on unemployment for the next 3 months. And that isn't chump change. So we don't want to leave 12 grand on the table under that scenario. Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, now I'm just going to lay it out here and then we can zoom in. So unemployment is our next consideration. Now, if the client says, it's not a wipeout, I'm not claiming unemployment on the business, there's really a fork in the road. And the fork goes to the PPP, Payroll Protection Program, which we all hear about on the news.
Yep.
Or the Employee Retention Tax Credit. All of you are going to get sick of these acronyms. And by the way, I have an article on Entrepreneur and on my site that's done very, very well. It's out there. It's called 10 Ways to Take Advantage of the Stimulus Package. So if you just Google Kohler 10 Ways, you'll see this article. It's out there. And I've got 10 ways to schmooze, a lady, but don't go there. Go to the 10 ways to maximize your stimulus package. That other article won't help you at all, trust me.
Probably not, but no, that's exciting. I have read that article and it's fantastic.
Yeah. My wife says, good luck, so, okay. Now, but these 10 ways to take advantage of the stimulus package, if some of you are going to do better printing out an article and going through it item by item, please go get it and then supplement this podcast or webinar with the article. It'll really help you out.
Okay, very good.
Now here's what's interesting about the PPP. Some of you getting the PPP is a bad thing. And you're like, hold it, Mark, it's free money. Yeah, but I can go down this employee retention tax credit and maybe get you more. There's a break even we'll come to here, Megan, but under the PPP, what we might do is add to it unemployment for, I'm going to put UB, unemployment benefits for one of the family members, emergency paid sick leave, EPSL, or I might grab the Family Medical Leave Act right there. So I've got those three that could play into it. We also have the EIDL sitting out there, which actually reduces your PPP. So I put it on the side minus EIDL. Now I'm not opposed to getting the EIDL. Hey, it's free money, but you might end up with a 1% loan on some of that EIDL money, which isn't the end of the world either. 1% loan for 2 years, sign me up.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's the PPP. I'm almost done, Megan. So this is our kind of the layout.
I'm enjoying this. Yeah.
So you got the PPP minus EIDL, and then unemployment, emergency paid sick leave, and Family Medical Leave Act. Now you may say again, well, Mark, why do those matter? Again, for those of you, I know many of you are single. We've got, Megan said demographics are probably 50-50, just like the nationwide demographics.
Yes.
But if you're married or helping an adult child or an adult parent on your payroll, they could go get these three items, unemployment, or get emergency paid sick leave, FMLA, then go on unemployment. Or so we kind of talk about those as a package, and they can be pretty powerful. Then on the employee retention tax credit, you get $5,000 for every employee that you keep on the payroll the rest of the year and pay at least $10,000. That includes you. So if you're, again, put you and a spouse or maybe a child or maybe you have a couple other employees, I can get $15,000. Now, so now that's just $5,000 per employee, refundable tax credit. You get a check in the mail if it doesn't help you reduce your taxes anyway. So that's real $5,000. It's just as the PPP forgiveness deal, but you don't have to fight for it and get in line and deal with your banker.
That's huge. Like waiting in line for the iPhone, right? For the PPP.
Yeah, parallel, right?
And you never know if there'll be one when you get to the end of the line.
Yeah. Now, what's cool is in that if you do the PPP, you cannot do the tax credit.
Okay.
So you're like, well, I didn't get the PPP. Well, you got option 2. I'm going to put 1 here, 2 here, option 1 or 2. Now there's 5 things, almost like you're going through the buffet line. The ERTC is the prime rib, and then now I can go down the salad lane, the dessert lane, and da-da-da. And so we're going to add to this EIDL, which does not reduce the ERTC, but it reduces the PPP. So if you can get 5 to 10 grand in the EIDL, depending on your employee base, that can pay off. And under this package, see, so again, some of you watching this already know more about the stimulus package phase 2 than we do. It's right now, chronologically, we're going to the Senate tomorrow, and hopefully by the weekend we've got this thing. But they've already earmarked close to another 50 to 60 billion just for EIDL, separate from PPP. So that'll, in the website last night, I checked it, SBA is closed down for the EIDL, so that'll reopen in the next 48 hours. But we got EIDL, Emergency Paid Sick Leave again, Family Medical Leave Act, unemployment benefits, and the payroll tax deferral, which is a whole other topic, which again, you can't do if you do PPP.
Right.
So we've got that. So anyway, so Megan, that's option 2. And I'll say this right now, the break even is if you've got more than 2 employees, but your profit or your salary is less than 80 grand.
Okay.
I can probably get you more under the employee retention tax credit side of the equation. So I'm easily going to say under 50 grand. So if you're making under $50,000 on your page, now so you could be an S corp with a payroll, which I've been teaching for years. The stimulus package played right into my master plan. So
I knew it was in your plan all along, right, Mark?
Yeah. So I'll say this and then I'll shut up and you can ask any questions. Hey, we're going to go. The last point is what I've been teaching for years is if you're making 100 to 150 grand, and I know that's the sweet spot for many, many of your clients out there making 100 to 150 grand. Well, if you're in an S corp, we're doing 50 to 60 grand in a W-2, and then this 90 to 100 grand in a K-1. Well, your PPP is only going to be around $9,000. Well, what the hell? But you've been saving a ton on FICA, which is okay. The S corp is the sweet spot for millions and millions of business owners. This experience of the pandemic is going to teach you, oh, I should have been restructured. Another reminder. So if you're doing that S corp with just a paycheck and a K-1, the ERTC is going to give you a lot more. Even so, when I say you're making less than 50 grand or somewhere in there, that could just be your payroll, and you could be making a lot more on the pass-through on your S corp. So many little tricks here. Anyway, that's the layout of the landscape, Megan, and we can talk about
this is like a mind-blown experience, right? Because I think we're so focused on the PPP right now and how those funds are running out and then getting back in that line like I talked about, waiting for the iPhone once again, and who knows if I'm going to get it. I'm already, business owners, we're super stressed right now. We're keeping our business running and operating the best we can, if we can. Not every business has that opportunity. It's hard right now. And so I think a lot of business owners are really solely focused on that PPP. Exactly. And you just shared the good news. Mind blown. There are additional options. So if you don't get the PPP, or as you brought up, there's even reasons where the PPP would not be as beneficial to these business owners. And I think I love this message that you're sharing because business owners need to know this. Because we're so much relying on what's out there and what we can find, but you're sharing the good news here, which I'm so excited about.
Thank you. Now, one other topic that we can cover too is for those of you that did get the PPP. Let me just lay it out on the table.
Yes.
Your work is not done.
No.
It is very, very tricky because you went to the bank, and some of you are in the middle of this right now. You're going to the bank, you're filling out a 2-page app. I got it right here. So here's the PPP app. This is what it looks like. We've been walking clients through it for 3 weeks now. So the actual PPP app right here, very simple. I've had banks screw it up. We've literally consulted 2 banks that said, can you help us design our equation on what documents we asked for? The small and community banks and regional banks have needed that support. The large banks are a pain in the butt. I've had so many clients screwed over by the big banks. And so we may want to talk about what to do in the next 5 days. But, but for those of you that get the PPP, you have to go back to the bank in 8 weeks and ask for forgiveness. Now, the bank wants you to be forgiven because whatever they get forgiven, the government pays the bill. If the bank cannot get your loan forgiven, they're carrying it at 1%. And not many banks want a 1% loan on their books. So they're going to help you get this thing forgiven, but there's parameters. And if you don't meet a certain equation, the whole thing is not forgiven. As an example, let's say you got a $100,000 PPP. Your payroll has to hit at least 75% of that 100 grand. Now your 100 grand was based on last year's numbers. So that would have been payroll. What gets you a PPP of 100 grand? That's 40,000 a month in payroll times 2.5. Okay, well, last year I had 40,000 a month in payroll. This year's been nuts. But the government's saying, go hire your people back. You have people sitting at home making more money on unemployment. So I've had a client in Vegas call me Monday and say, Mark, I got my PPP, called my employees back and said, we can get back to work. I'm ready to pay you. They said, you paying me more than unemployment? No, I'm staying home. So
yes, I've heard the same. I've had business owners tell me the same.
Yeah, it's crazy. But so let's say you got this 40 grand times 2.5, which is $100,000. Your payroll in the 8 weeks has to be at least 75% of that amount to set the cap of what you can be forgiven. For example, let's say you only do 60 grand in payroll in the 8 weeks. So if I take 60 grand and I divide that by 0.75, that tells me 80,000 is all that can be forgiven. And you're like, hold it, Mark, I wanted the whole 100 grand forgiven.
Right.
Well, in order to get the whole 100 grand forgiven, number one, payroll has to be at least 75% of that number. And number two, the next 25% can only be rent, mortgage interest, and utilities. That's it. And now when I say mortgage interest, fixed debt interest, well, I don't have a lot of clients that sometimes have that much rent in 2 months. So all of a sudden you're like, well, what the hell? I'm not going to get all this forgiven. Can I give the money back? Yes, you could. But whatever the remaining loan is, the EIDL reduces that. So you're into this weird equation of how much can I get forgiven? So you take whatever your payroll is, which includes, now this is going to be so cool, Megan, just to wet your
I'm excited. I'm ready. I got my seatbelt on.
Is that if you say, well, my payroll is only 60 grand, I got to get it to 75 to get that other 20,000 forgiven. Well, what does payroll costs include? Payroll includes your base payroll. So whatever you're paying people, don't worry about FICA. There's no addition or subtraction for what you're paying or that you're withholding. Payroll, the FICA is neutral. The SBA just came out last week with another interim guidance on this. They've been all over the board. I haven't been speaking on this crap. But the base payroll plus any health insurance premiums that you've been paying. Now, if you're a sole proprietor, it's a whole other equation. I hate to tell you, this is why Megan and I want you to be a corporation for tax savings and corporate credit and all that. But health insurance goes into it, plus retirement plan contributions. All right, so that's my 60 grand. Well, I'm short 15,000. Well, if you're a small business owner with a solo 401k, Megan, I could drop 15 grand in your 401k and give you 75 and get 20,000 forgiven.
Might drop.
I just got, essentially the IRS gave me 5 grand and put my money in my 401k for me. Forgiven.
Yes.
So I'm just telling so many clients out there during this 8 weeks, and I've got a team of tax lawyers and we can help you out if you need. But the point is, you don't call your accountant on the 10th week and go, okay, I'm ready to turn my app to my bank, because I need to know on the 6th and 7th week, all right, how much have you spent? Where are we at? Because we might need to move money around in preparation for the application to get the PPP forgiven. And some people are going to get saddled with a loan that they didn't expect if they're not careful. All right, so that's the whole story of the PPP too. Once you get it, game's not over. You're only halfway there.
I love it. And I love what you shared working with your accountant. I think sometimes we only think about you working with our accountant during tax season, dreaded tax season. And I'm sorry to say it, we don't always look forward to talking to our accountant.
Yeah. Yeah, and Megan, let me say this again. We'll get off the PPP in here just a second. We'll go anywhere you want, but this is not just on the 8th week, right before the deadline, cutting yourself a big check. I'm done. No, they're asking for 2 months of payroll. Right. I want to see now, as U.S. corp owners out there, Megan and I have been teaching. You can just do a quarterly payroll report, and you're fine. Well, under this plan, I want you cutting yourself an actual paycheck through your ADP, your accountant, whoever's doing your payroll. I need a monthly payroll. And the maximum you can pay yourself is $8,333. So if you've got to hit $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 in PPP, some of you maybe got 100 or 200 grand, you can't just bonus yourself out and say, oh, I'm done. No, you're limited to a maximum amount of $16,666 that you can pay yourself. And you say, ooh, but I'm married, I'll throw my spouse on. Or I'll put my kid. Okay, as long as it's legit. And see, all this maneuvering can't be done in the last freaking day.
Right, right. It's too late by then. And I like that message. And if we can share it now, then it's going to help these business owners be prepared, which I think is mission critical at this time. You brought up some principles that you have been teaching for quite some time on tax strategies for these business owners, you know, to get their adult children, maybe even their children on payroll. And my mind went to that as you were describing it, how strong of a position those individuals are that took that advice and moved forward, and the strength that brings them at this time. And that doesn't mean those that didn't take that wisdom and implement it are in trouble, but my mind automatically goes to, if I haven't implemented those, I need to do so now, because you never know when it's going to come into play and be a benefit for my business. Question for you.
Okay, wherever you want now. It's on you.
I know.
Like what I talk about, you're in trouble. It's not me.
So I think So working with my accountant to figure out how I'm not stuck with these PPP funds that have to term out into a loan, right? If it does term out into a loan, what are the terms? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, 1%, 2 years.
Okay. And so for business, go ahead, yes.
Before you go, let me be more clear. It's 1% per annum, right? Who cares? But the interest starts the day you get the PPP funds, not
so it goes
when
back.
8 weeks is over. So at the minute you get the funds, the 1% starts going. Also, the first 6 months payments are waived. So you don't have to make any payments for 6 months. But then once the loan kicks in, at that point, the terms, you have 18 months to pay back the loan. Now, after that, I don't know what's going to happen. And by the way, these are not personally guaranteed loans. There's no collateral on these. They're not going to be forgiven in bankruptcy because they're loans to they're SBA loans, but I think they'd be treated more like a student loan at that point. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Your guess is
18 months.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. So for most small business owners, it may be a smaller amount. For larger businesses, if they get a large PPP, that may be a large dollar amount that they're paying off in 2 years, even at 1%. So just being aware, and I think the main message that I get out of this is collaborating with a great accountant and preparing to make sure that you're able to get those amounts forgiven. Is what I take.
I know many of you, you're using TurboTax. Your accountant isn't teaching this. Let me just say it's out there. I'll put out our phone number here. We've got 5 tax lawyers and 3 CPAs. Our firm's about 50, 60 strong, and we've been helping clients around the country for 20 years. We're the Main Street America. This picture back here, that's us. We love small business owners, and that's all we do. If you need a consult, you can book us for a half hour to an hour. You just say, I just need a consult. And then you could go knock it out on your TurboTax and ADP payroll reports if that's what you want to do, or go to your current accountant and tell them what to do. I don't know. But if you need that help, here's our phone number. You can just call. And this is not an infomercial, Megan, you know that.
No, but I think not all accountants are created equally, Mark.
Yeah.
And they haven't thought through these strategies. And so I think it's important. This is the point of this, is to give people some really great strategies, but they're going to need people to consult them through it. They're not going to be able to grab everything they need to know right from this, moment in time. So I appreciate you putting that out there.
Thank you. And it's probably down there in the feed. Your tech people put it out there, but
absolutely.
MarkJKohler.com. The law firm is KKOSlawyers.com. And we've got, if you Google us, you're not going to find a lot of dirt. Yeah, all businesses stumble here and there, but the important thing is we make it right with our clients if there's ever a mistake. But we are affordable. We're on the small business front in America. Give us a call if you want for a consult. And then you can go to step 2. And what's funny, Megan, I've got a text loop here with 10 CPAs and lawyers, and we're texting probably 15 texts a day. I've already got one this morning. We're knee deep in this, and we're learning every hour. I mean, it's just crazy. So anyway, it is a difficult topic. All right.
Yes, and you guys are learning it so that you can advise people. I think, and that's the point. And we just appreciate all your hard work on that. So it'll be good. All right, that's the PPP in a nutshell.
Oh, well, yeah.
Every time I say PPP, my kids just laugh a little. They think it's pretty hilarious.
Well, I appreciate you. It's funny. It's a funny topic. Now, we didn't even talk about how to get the PPP, dealing with banks. If you want to go there, we can go over to the ERTC. What do you think? Because I think banks screw up that.
Yeah, and so you have an interesting perspective with the PPP. You've helped some community banks with their formulas, and I'll echo that. And we've seen that with our own clients. There is almost no bank handling this the same way as the bank next door. And there are banks making errors. There are some that are getting applications through. There are some that are almost at gridlock because operationally they're struggling with it. So I am interested to hear any wisdom you have as you've worked with business owners as they prepare for this next wave of PPP funds.
Okay. That sounds good. And we can focus on this left side here for a bit more. We talked about the forgiveness and what we need to do there. And then let's go into the PPP equation. But first, bankers.
Yes.
If your bank has got you in a cattle chute with a million other applicants, you got to be careful. I don't mean to be, I'm just saying if you're using Chase, B of A, Wells, that's cool. But you better make sure all your stuff's in there and they've approved your documents. There's really several steps here. The first thing is you got to get with the bank. And for some of you, that means right now, like today, I want you to go and find a community or regional bank. They're more agile, they're moving quickly, you'll get more TLC. If you have to go through a big bank, you keep calling them every hour and emailing them and tell, this is free money. This is like going to work. And you need this.
This is your job. Yeah.
So you've got to have a bank relationship, and we're seeing more success with the smaller regional type banks. Number 2, you're going to fill out the application, which here is just a couple pages, very straightforward. We'll go through the equation here in a moment, because again, I've seen it all over the place, and we've got to be careful. For those of you that are sole proprietors, you didn't even get to make an application before the money ran out. The money ran out in 13 days, 350 billion. That was all S corps and LLCs taxed as S corps. That's where it was. They didn't even get to the Schedule C. See, again, why we've got to talk about the S corp, and we'll get to that later maybe.
Yes.
But number 3, you apply, the bank approves it. The bank says, I'm almost going to say checks it. They just got to, bank has got to be good with it. Their job is to help you fill out the application and make sure it's accurate. Then they submit it to SBA. Now, this is where there's a big line right now waiting, like just think of a beaver dam with a bunch of logs waiting to try to go through this thing. The minute they approve this 300 billion or whatever it's going to be at, it's going to be like, and you may not even be able to get another app in. They were approving $1 billion an hour last 13 days. a lot of predictions said this is going to go in half the time. So you want to be getting your app with the bank right. Most banks have said, we're not even going to take an app until Congress approves it. And you're like, okay, the minute they approve it, you want to be on the phone or on a website or at their door. Then once it's submitted to SBA, that means you're in it's almost like you're in the queue on the way in. And then the SBA approves it. So they approve it. Now, in the first 13 days, for our small business, our law firm, accounting firm, and for thousands of our clients, getting it to the bank, getting the bank to okay it, and then submitting it to the SBA took about 48 hours. I mean, we're talking 2 days. They sent it in, next day, SBA approved it. You're in the queue. I've got a brother-in-law here, I texted again last night. He got approved, the bank says he did, last Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. It's 7 days later. Where the hell's your money? Because the minute the SBA approves it, the bank should be doing loan docs. Then they send them over to you. You sign the loan docs. And that takes it took most of my clients, that was about a 2-day process. The bank says you're good, you got approved. They send you loan docs, you sign them, and then we got our money within 3 hours after that. Most of my clients are getting money next day. So then the money is delivered. So those are all the steps. Now you're not applying through the SBA. You're not going to call the SBA. You're going to work through your banker the entire time. Then you got your 8 weeks to spend it properly, and then you're going to reapply to get it forgiven. We haven't even seen that application, which we already talked about.
Right. We don't even know what that process is going to look like. And I echo what you're saying. I think right now is the calm before the storm. So I'm telling all the business owners I talk with, talk to your banker right now. Get everything, get all the checks done. If the bank's willing to do it, get them to give their thumbs up right now so that the second that's flipped back on, you can get right into that system. And I've had lots of banks that are telling me that they're currently still working on that verification process, even though there aren't funds, in anticipation for this approval. I know even the big banks are doing that. Some of the big banks. And then there are some banks that are just completely on hold because I think they're just generally overwhelmed with it all. So it's quite interesting. And right now, I think what strikes me is now whether or not you had a relationship with your bank is coming to fruition, and I think we'll all learn from this that we'll manage those relationships with our banker moving forward for sure, because as you've mentioned, having that relationship can really help in this scenario.
Yeah. Now, a common question I get are people say, well, what if I already applied? Should I apply again? And the answer is it depends. If you've already applied through the website at Wells or Chase and you haven't heard anything, go apply somewhere else.
Yes.
Go apply somewhere else. Now, if a banker has said, I've got your app, it's good to go. You're in the queue. We're submitting it to the SBA the minute they turn the water faucet on. We've got you ready to go. Then don't reapply somewhere.
Right.
But unless you've got complete confirmation, written or verbal, maybe depending on your relationship with the bank and what you trust them saying, if their app is in their hot little hand ready to go, I would not go reapply somewhere. But again, if there's any question marks, it's not going to hurt you to reapply. Just go freaking reapply somewhere. It's all going to match up in the Social Security EIN system there. And your first one will get approved. The second one will get rejected because they already saw you got through. So
right. And there's been lots of talk about that. Are they going to not approve me because it looks like fraud, because I'm trying to double dip? And I think so many businesses have had to apply multiple times, and the probability that two will come in at the exact same time is so slim that I agree with you. If you're with a big bank, no traction, definitely go try with a community bank, somewhere you have a relationship, somewhere you're meeting their requirements, and I'd get it done ASAP,
Yeah. Now, this is, again, everybody, separate from EIDL. The
Yes.
Economic Injury Disaster Loan, you're going to go to sba.gov and apply for that. It takes you about 15 minutes, and you're going to apply based on the number of employees you had as of January 2020. And the question is specifically, how many employees did you have last year? How much money did you make? What were your gross sales? They want to make sure you're legit. And here's a big question everybody's been asking. Well, in the PPP and in the EIDL, if I 1099 someone, if they're a subcontractor, does that count as an employee? Can I count that towards my PPP? The answer resoundingly is no. The answer is no. Now, I know some lawyers are like, well, on the PPP, it asks, have you issued 1099s to people? Yeah, it asks that because they want to make sure you're in business. Have you been issuing 1099s? But that's not part of the payroll cost equation. You can go to the SBA interim rules that they've been spitting out almost every 5 days.
And they update regularly, which is so fun, right, Mark?
Yeah, it kills several nights in a row. Last night with the with the Senate passing a bill, I went to bed at 1 a.m. and been up early for this. So it's been a long haul. But anyway, the point is the EIDL is based on employees, not subcontractors. You apply separately at the SBA. You don't even need to tell your banker what you're doing. It doesn't matter. The one question on the PPP is, it says, have you received EIDL loans between January 31st and April 3rd? Well, they weren't giving out any loans during that period. They were just taking apps. It's a stupid question, and you're going to check the box no. Be a lawyer here. It didn't say, has the applicant applied for EIDL? It says, has the applicant received EIDL? So check the box no. And these first four questions, you're going to go, no, 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 blah, blah, blah. And you're going to, I haven't been a criminal. I haven't done this. No, no, no. And then you're going to initial some pages. You're done.
Yes.
Only thing that's left is the equation, which I know we'll come to, but that's easy. But that's the PPP. The EIDL application is just as simple, and I'll forewarn you. If you've got back child support, you ain't getting it. You're gonna not be allowed. If you're a criminal, blah blah blah. There's all these little boxes that, regrettably, if you have to check. But bankruptcy doesn't matter. Your credit doesn't matter. Your business structure doesn't matter on the face of it. But when we come to the equation, it can.
Right, and I get that question a lot. Are they checking my personal credit? Is it going to create an inquiry, et cetera? And you hit the nail on the head. That answers that question right there.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's a question a lot of people submitted in preparation for this. All right, I don't want to delay you. You have so much good stuff. So
keep going. Okay.
Keep rolling. Yeah.
I'm just going to quickly do this. This is the PPP equation, and there's two options. For those of you that are an S corp or an LLC taxed as an S corp, do not tell me, oh, I have an LLC, and then come to find out 15 minutes later, oh, it's taxed as an S corp. Then you have a freaking S corp. I don't care if the letters at the end of your name say LLC. It matters how you're taxed. Now we'll go through maybe a quick example on the board here of what your S corp structure should have looked like and should look like through this process. But this is option one. You're an S corp. You've got legitimate 941 payroll reports that you're doing quarterly. Now, option two. Mark, I have an S corp, but I don't give myself a payroll. I just 1099 my Schedule C. My accountant said that was okay. Well, your accountant has jacked you up. And
Yes.
And again, we have said, and I know, Megan, when you're out helping people get corporate credit,
Yeah.
1099 your Schedule C does not help. It hurts.
No, exactly.
Every possible way, the worst. But if you didn't take payroll in 2019, you're screwed. You're going to have to do that same strategy. Now you're applying for the PPP, not under your S corp. You're applying for it under your Schedule C that your accountant chunked money over to. Also, for any of you out there that are, so I'm going to put S corp without payroll. Then I'm going to talk about the sole prop or the single member LLC. This is option two. And I know the bulk of your viewers or listeners are in bucket one. Is that right, Megan?
A good portion will be, but we'll have both scenarios here. So
Okay. Well, let me make this generally easy. Let's start with bucket two. On bucket two, what you have to do is take your net income on your Schedule C. That's it. You're going to take your net income on your Schedule C for last year. And if you had other employees, which most sole proprietors don't, if you're a sole proprietor and you're going to go down the payroll route, someone's going to talk you into the S Corp, and rightfully so. But if you're a Schedule C and you literally have payroll to third-party employees, not your kids, not your spouse, but legitimate W-2 941 crap going out the door, not 1099s, not subs. Now, this is a lot of times my realtors out there. They're Schedule Cs, they're LLCs, and this S Corp thing they thought they would do years from now. No, Day of Awakening is out here. So if you have a net income on Schedule C, you get to add to it any third-party payroll and their health care insurance, not your own, and their contributions to any SEP or 401k that you might have in place. Now, this is very rare because, again, the Schedule C usually doesn't get to this level, but if you have these people, we can add it in there.
Okay.
So you cannot add in health insurance premiums for yourself or your 401k or SEP. So if I take your net income, whatever the freak that is, and let's say it's 40 grand last year, that's your net. You're going to pay self-employment tax on it, which we hate. And this is back to Mark Kohler 101. I would have grabbed you by the ears last year. But if you have 40 grand net, you're going to take that, divide it by 12, and multiply it by 2.5. And guess what? It is 8,000 and change. It's about 8,333. That's your PPP. That's it. That's all you're going to get. And you're like, well, what the hell's the big deal? Why am I chasing my tail around? And That's what I'm saying. If your payroll is less than 50 grand, or your net income is less than 50 grand, or you're doing an S Corp with payroll of less than 50 grand for last year, this PPP is not what you think it is. It's the red dress in the Matrix. Keanu Reeves is walking through the Matrix in the red dress walks by, dude, and he gets distracted, boom, gun in his face. So you want to make sure you're not getting distracted here. So that's why I go back to the ERTC, because I can get you 5 grand plus any family member that we put on payroll during the year, or any employee. You just got any employee you pay between now and the end of the year, up to 10 grand, 50% comes back to you in a tax credit. You just cut your payroll cost in half on the first 10 grand. So I wouldn't go out and hire someone full-time, hire someone part-time. Boom. So this is a big deal. So if you're an S Corp, I'll just say this quickly, Megan, things are a little better. You get to take your 941, box 2, that's your gross payroll for everybody, including yourself. Maybe your spouse has been on payroll, yada, yada. Then you get to add to it even health insurance premiums on yourself, even if you don't pay for your employees. Doesn't matter. Any health insurance premiums. And anything you may have put in your 401k or SEP last year, even if it's just you. You're like, what? I'm getting money because I put money in my retirement? Yep. So you take that number. This is called payroll cost. And SBA has some really long language. If you can't sleep at night, I'll send you the document to read. But this payroll cost, you're going to divide by 12, and then you're going to multiply it by 2.5. That's your PPP. Now, if you're making around 100 grand on your net, and let's say you're a S Corp solo owner or a sole proprietor, and you're making 100 grand, your PP is going to be around 21,000 and change. Okay, well, all right, and that can be all forgiven? Yep. So for my solo owners, S Corps, like my little S Corp that owns part of a law firm and accounting firm, I can go get 21 grand, use it for payroll on myself, 75% of it, and the other 25% for rent, fixed debt, and utilities, and then I can get this whole thing forgiven. So that's why I'm saying if you're between 50 and 100 grand in net, you really need to think twice about what path you're going to go down. So, all right. Anyway, hope that was helpful. Oh, but here's what the thing happened. This is 2 nights ago. Because last night I worked late. So the night before, I got a text from a client at 11 o'clock at night going, Mark, he heard me talking about getting Payroll Protection Program forgiveness. And he's like, well, my banker added in all my 1099s. I'm like, what? This is how, you can't just trust your banker to be right. I've had people go, Mark, you're wrong. My banker said this. I'm like, whoa, who are you going to trust? The 21-year-old behind the desk at the bank? Or are you going to trust your lawyer and accountant that has malpractice insurance advising you? Just because they're a bank doesn't mean they're always right.
No.
Yeah, so they took their payroll plus all their 1099s and then divide by 12. So now he's got an inflated PPP.
Yeah, and good luck. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be tricky.
You're going to have a party with that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
You can send that banker a card.
Yeah. Yeah, my client was, but now here's the thing too. I said, if you don't get it all forgiven, whatever you don't get forgiven, just give back. We're telling a lot of clients, take your PPP money and put it in a separate bank account. Don't just put it in your main account and spend it and go, oh,
where did it go?
How many millions of people are taking that PPP like a lifeline, dropping it into their operational account and just spending it right and left? And then in about 6 weeks, they're going to go, oh, I better get this forgiven. What do I send in? And they're going to find, hold it, the whole thing's not forgiven? I didn't cut payroll for myself. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And it's going to be a freaking
It's going to be a mess for you to get to clean up, but I like that advice. And I think that's something that I want to echo and make sure business owners hear that take those PPP funds, put it in a separate account. Understand that you're going to need to be accountable for how all those funds are used. So document it. Make sure you have a way that when it's time to apply for the forgiveness, that you have all that information accessible to make it as easy as possible. So I think that's really good advice to help us all get through that process.
Okay. Ready for some prices, right?
I'm ready.
Okay. Now, if you remember the big picture, we could go down. We first have to, I have a lot of clients calling up. I have a small business. It's a wipeout. I'm not making any money.
Right.
I'm done. I'll say, go claim unemployment. Don't even go down this PPP or tax credit route. Just freaking go claim unemployment. You can get between $250 and $525 per week, depending on the state, plus the $600 a week kicker from the feds, which could put you up to $1,050. Lindsey Graham, senator, was on the floor of the Senate going berserk saying, I got people in my state making more money on unemployment than they did at their job. Something's wrong. But the Congress said, just freaking pass the damn thing. We got to get money to people to go.
Money in the system. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the unemployment question again. Now we could go through how to apply and all that, but it's a big topic. Now, if you're going to go down PPP, we answered some of those questions. We didn't get into the unemployment for your spouse, emergency paid sick leave, or FMLA. I may come to an example there. But let's go over to this ERTC for a minute. So if we go down this door number 2, now we've got 3 more doors to choose from. So you're on Price is Right. You're like, I don't know. I want the boat or the car. I want the vacation package, whatever. And Drew Carey is going to take you through. But you've got your ABC. Let's say A is single. You're single with no family on the payroll at all. And it's just you. If you're a sole prop, and you're going to have the same type of year where you make 20 to maybe 30 grand net, dude, gal, you're done. There's going to be nothing in the stimulus package for you. You're not going to go down one of these employee benefits. You're going to get your stimulus check or your stimulus wire in your bank account. And again, and I love you small business owners out there. If you're driving Uber, you're doing this, whatever, and you're just making 20 to 30 grand net, Megan and I probably aren't even going to push you into an LLC or an S Corp because it's okay. The stimulus package isn't for you. Now, I'm going to do 4 doors. If you're single.
Let's live on the edge.
Yeah, let's live on the edge here. If you're single, and there's a good chance you might hit a home run. You're like, I'm in a business where it sucks right now, but Q3 and Q4, quarter 4 of this year, I think it could take off because I'm in an industry where when the economy kicks back in, I'm going to be making some money. Maybe you're a realtor again, and the real estate market's everybody's on hold. No one's buying or selling right now. Once the lid's taken off, it's going to be
like hair dye, right? All these ladies are going to go get their hair done. Guys are going to get their haircuts, right? It's going to be chaos.
It's going to be chaos. So if you're single and you might make big money, I want you to get your LLC now. Because what I can do is I can backdate it into an S Corp, hire yourself, and get you a $5,000 paycheck. You may say, well, setting up an LLC and an S Corp, blah, blah, blah. Well, but the government's going to give you $5,000.
Right. Do it.
Do it. And so that pays for it right there and more. Plus, you're not going to pay FICA on all that money. You're making more than 30 grand. Now, some of you are like, what in the hell are you talking about? Go on YouTube and type Kohler S Corp, Kohler sole prop. I've got about 4 to 5 at least videos with over hundreds of thousands of views that explain when should I go from an LLC to an S Corp. Megan will hook you up. We set up so many entities for Credit Suite clients because they want that LLC to get the EIN, start building corporate credit, and have the ability to do the S Corp backdate, knock out some payroll, boom, you're saving money. But if you don't do the LLC now, I can't make you an S Corp out of thin air and backdate it down the road. You go, Mark, these are tight. And so we charge $800 and you get an hour with an attorney to go through the stimulus package or whatever you want. And then it's filing fee and RA. We've had the same price for the last 10 years. So if you need an entity, that same phone number I gave you, get an hour consult with one of these attorneys that's doing stimulus package and get your LLC at the same time. Done. And then, or we have a paralegal service that's the same price of LegalZoom, $400. Well, LegalZoom's $100. I can go to the state and set it up with a piece of paper. That's not an LLC. That's one piece of paper. Good luck. Megan's going to freak out. I'm going to freak out because I don't have an EIN. I don't have articles. I don't have minutes. You probably used the wrong address. We want to get all that straightened out. Megan, any thoughts?
I'm just going to let you go on that soapbox. I'm usually on that soapbox, so it's really fun to let somebody else do it. I agree. I think it's worth the effort. I will throw out there, I think a lot of business owners put this roadblock in their minds that that process is so complicated. They don't want to take it on. They don't want to have that just hanging over their head. And it's quite simple. And then when you have a great advocate like Kohler, you guys can walk them right through the process, make it as easy as possible. You're not going to let them trip and fall. You guys will take great care of them. And I think that peace of mind is well worth it.
I hope so. And we've seen it over and over. You're not going to find hate mail out there. It says, Mark Kohler recommended I do an entity and it didn't work. Or he charged me 10 grand or 20 grand. And there's those groups out there. We'll give you unlimited LLCs for 10 grand. Oh crap, don't go there. Or we're going to set you up in Nevada. No, they're not. That bad news. Don't do that. Not Wyoming or Nevada. We're going to set up the entity where you freaking live. All right.
Yes. And now, banks hate it when they do that. I got to stay on that soapbox for 2 more seconds, Mark. Banks hate it when you are doing those Nevada or Wyoming corporations. There's so many reasons we're on the same page. We'll just leave it at that. Just please incorporate. So there we go.
Yeah. All right. Now, that's box A. That's door A and B. If you're single. Now I'm going to take C and D, and we're going to throw down here. Now, with C and D, I hate to say you single folks, I can save you more money if you're married. Don't do it. Don't get married unless you have to. Your sex life will go out the window. And no, I'm just but you know, I want you to still go on dates. At least don't have kids. If you're going to get married, at least don't have kids. You'll ruin. They're
just the best thing you could do in life. But you know.
Yeah, the only people that say that are people that have kids because they just like to commensurate with others. So like, let's trick them. You know, I've got teenagers. There is no one on the planet that has teenagers that will recommend children to anyone. Period. I know it. I just know it. So, okay, now, all right, C and D. If you're married and your spouse was on payroll last year, now this is very, very important. Now I'm going to do a diagram here that Megan knows is my claim to fame. This is called the Trifecta. This is very, very important. When you read my books, I've got books sitting around here. You get to Amazon. I've got 6 books out on Amazon. There's no other tax lawyer in America that's written more, broadcast more, published more on YouTube or in print for the small business owner than me. And I say that humbly. It's taken me 20 years to get there, but no one else. Dave Ramsey's great on personal finance. You've got Susie Orman on finance. You've got all these great talking heads, but no one's talking about the tax and legal for the small business owner. That's me. And I want you to hope to get to my website, start following my newsletter, the blog, the podcast, because you can take the info and go educate your own accountant or lawyer. That's all. You don't have to come to my firm. Just get the info. You're the captain of your freaking ship. So the trifecta. Here's your trifecta. this is what it looks like. Your family trust is the foundation. It's going to own your personal home unless you're renting, which is fine. You're going to have an LLC for your rental properties or your investments. This is your asset side. And we're going to build 401ks, Roths, and IRAs right here. And all of the beneficiaries of those, the beneficiary of all those is your trust. And then over here, you're going to start out as a sole proprietor, but as soon as possible, when you start making money, we're going to take you over to the S Corp. You're going to pay yourself a W-2. We're going to save self-employment tax, no Obamacare, no corporate tax. You're going to get the 199A deduction. Oh my gosh, people, I saved you thousands. The more money you make, thousands and thousands of dollars. Especially you in California, you're like, oh, it's $800 for an entity. Let me see, save you $4,000, spend $800. Let me see, do the math.
Yes.
Okay. Now, some of you might go to an LLC in the interim and we'll go up to the S Corp. That's what I was saying to some people they need to do, is just have that ability to flip the switch and go to an S Corp.
Yeah.
Now, this is our basic structure. Now, what I'll do for many of you is we're going to do a W-2, keep your FICA down low, which is going to be the basis of your PPP and any other W-2s you're issuing. And then every year, I want you to fund a little bit over to your 401k, your SEP, or IRA. Then we're going to invest that into what you know best. And our clients use their 401ks and IRAs to buy real estate or do notes. They don't run to Wall Street. Another big topic. This is your operations side. This is your asset side. Now here is where the trick comes in if you're married or with kids. I'm going to W-2 your spouse, but I only pay my spouse, Jennifer, 10 or 20 grand, and she drops the whole thing in her 401k. So now her W-2 is zero. I got a write-off, and she and I were able to double down on our 401k. Far better than a SEP. And then the 401k, solo 401k is great. Then what I do is I start paying your kids. And I use a management fee down to your kids. They don't file a tax return. You get a write-off, and these are your kids under age 18. Then now there's a point for all this. This is so important. Then over here, my adult children, I've got 3 kids in college, 2 are married. I'm going to 1099 them for anything I give them. So if they go, Dad, help me with tuition. All right, look for that 1099 in the mail. And they love it around Christmas time. Okay, so I've got kids on payroll over 18, kids on payroll under age 18, and my spouse on payroll. If you're married and you've been doing that, so we're here on door C, married with spouse on payroll, that means your wife has a W-2 or your husband has a W-2 for last year. Well, if they have a W-2 for last year, okay, now in box C, door C, married, I have a choice. I can drop your spouse on unemployment for maybe up to, well, the rest of the year is 13 weeks of federal and state, and then an additional 26 weeks of state. I might be able to drop into your bank account close to 20 grand in payroll. Sorry, 20 grand in unemployment benefits, tax-free. Now, well, you have to claim some unemployment benefits on a tax return. But the beauty here is you've got 15 to 20 grand in unemployment. Now, well, should I just do that? I don't know, because it would want the tax credit. I've had some clients that say, I'm going to fire my spouse for the next 3 months and then rehire them. $5,000 tax credit. See, you get a tax credit to pay your spouse up to 10 grand. So I can put my spouse on unemployment, rehire them, get a $5,000 tax credit, pay my wife, Jennifer, 10 grand, and she could drop the whole thing in the 401k. I just got it all tax-free.
So much fun.
Okay,
Isn't it?
Serious?
It's a blast.
That's one rabbit hole.
Yes.
I haven't even, that's option 1. So under this strategy, under C, married. So, oh my gosh. So then, now one client of mine said, now this is option D, married, but I didn't have my spouse on payroll last year. Okay, well, then we went down, now this is good, Megan, this is why people need to have a consult with whoever their advisor is. They go, well, Mark, I got my PPP or tax credit, but I'm married, but I didn't put my spouse on payroll. So I had a client, he owns a little flooring store down here in Main Street, America. Now this is cool. Family medical leave. Family medical leave says that if you're on a shelter in place and have children at home, or you've been exposed and have to quarantine yourself, or you had the sickness, or you've got to take care of someone in your family quarantined, or have to take care of someone that's at home from school because it's been canceled, you can give them family medical leave coverage up to $10,000, tax-free. The government pays it. So Megan, you can put your spouse on family medical leave. Don't have them claim unemployment. Have them take 12 weeks off.
Merry Christmas.
Now, the beauty of this is 12 weeks. But if you start the first 2 weeks out with emergency paid sick leave, I can do 2 weeks of this at 100% of whatever your payroll is, up to $5,000. Then after 2 weeks, I drop you on FMLA for the other 10. So when we start to do the math on this, the rule is you have to be on payroll at least 30 days to get family medical leave. To get emergency sick leave, you only have to be on payroll 1 day. So I met with a client 3 weeks ago when the fan hit. Well, whatever hit the fan.
Yes.
And then I said, okay, put your spouse on payroll right now. He already cut a check on April 15th for the first 2 weeks. In another week and a half, he's going to hit 30 days. He gives her last paycheck. Done. Now we've pegged her salary for a whole month. She's going to go on family medical leave on May 1st. Her benefit here is going to be around $3,000. And then the next 10 weeks, because they have children home from school and they're out of school for the rest of this semester, they're going to get another $10,000. So we just checked the box on $13,000 tax-free and skipped unemployment because she wasn't working last year in order to enable to get it. So I've got $13,000 in emergency paid sick leave, FMLA. Then she's going to come back on payroll. I paid her $10,000 for the year. I get another $5,000 under the tax credit. Then I can drop any of this money into her 401k at any point I want and get a tax deduction for that. So I've got the government paying for all this, and I'm getting 13 to 20 grand worth of benefits, and that's completely separate from PPP.
It's amazing.
Exciting, huh?
It's so fun to get a glimpse into the world of Mark Kohler and the way your brain works. I always enjoy your drawings. Oh,
and that doesn't include EIDL either. EIDL's on top.
Right.
All right, sorry. Okay.
It's really a mic drop moment. This is such a huge deal because a lot of business owners possibly could give up after the PPP if it doesn't work for them or feel overwhelmed. And I think it's mission critical for them to understand these other strategies. It's huge. This is the difference between making it through this unscathed versus not, or with a lot less pain, and I'm a big advocate, and I was reading a great business book last night of, looking in the mirror versus through the window. And it talked about how some of the great companies, how they have choices, and they found those that are great. They're looking through the mirror and they see what they can do to thrive in this scenario versus looking out the window and saying, woe is me. Right. And so I think that's why I love the spirit of entrepreneurship. And that's what you're talking about here is, okay, guys, we all have been dealt these cards. What do we do with them? And how do we make it through? And how do we make the best of this situation? This is huge for business owners.
Yeah. And just to go, I thank you, Megan, for your kind words. And back to this example here.
Yes.
Look I just focused on the W-2 for the spouse. That's it. We're just at the beginning of this planning meeting.
Yes.
Because now I've got the kids who, Megan, I normally don't give a W-2 to. But now, even though it costs me 15% in FICA, I get a 50% tax credit. So I'm up 85%, whatever I give the kids as a write-off or a tax credit, up to $10,000. So I'm ahead of the curve here on this. So this year, we're going to start recommending clients actually issue a W-2 to their kids and to their older children. So every child, I can get a $5,000 tax credit. So I'm getting a $5,000 tax credit on each one of these. Plus, I could still even do unemployment at some point on some of them, depending if they were paid last year. Do they have other jobs? Or I could do emergency paid sick leave on the spouse or the FMLA. So I'm using all of these strategies in concert. So here's the big takeaway, and I know our time's coming to a close, is that this is the consult you need to be having.
Yes.
And it's not just a one done and thank you, ma'am, bye. No, that you may be going, oh my gosh, Mark, I haven't done my minutes on my S Corp. I haven't even filed my taxes for last year and all this. See, if you're a sole proprietor and you want to go down the PPP, I forgot to mention that here, way up at the top. If you're doing the PPP as a sole prop, here we go, you have to have your 2019 tax return done.
Yeah.
If you don't have your 2019 tax return, you're not even showing up at the bank.
Right.
Because see, over here, I don't have to have a tax return. I just have to have payroll reports done. So doing a consult is about the stimulus. It's about what's my plan for the rest of 2020? Do I have flexibility to convert into an S Corp? Are my kids already on payroll? Are they not? How much money am I making? How many employees do I have to hire back? What's my payroll percentage? Am I skipping the PPP, doing the ERTC? I mean, so you've got what? So there's just a lot here. And some people go, Mark, we discounted a raise for this crisis, but we're $300 for an hour with a tax lawyer. A tax lawyer at $300 an hour, you can't even find that in New York, Chicago, LA. It's a steal.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, you get what you pay for. No, we've got normal rates of $600 or more, but we're trying to get as many people in. I've got my tax attorneys working nights and Saturdays because I just want to get people this info. I have people walking the door that have no clue on this. Right. And they don't know where to turn. Their accountant is an H&R Block, desk once a year for 30 minutes, and their banker could care less who they are. Where do they go? So get that consult with a professional or us and get a plan for 2020, get your structure reevaluated. It's money well spent. We'll save you 20, 30 times that.
I love it. And I'm so grateful we were able to have this discussion today. Like I said, this is just so important for business owners to understand and create a plan. I know on our end, and you probably run into this too, sometimes listeners may hear what you went over and feel like, okay, I got it. I'm going to execute it all on my own. And that's sometimes problematic, oftentimes problematic. And so I would just echo getting some professional consultations on these concepts. If your accountant or attorney are not aligned with these strategies, they can definitely rope in your team. And then you can always go back to the accountant that you love and educate them if need be. But I echo your thoughts there. It looks like you have a thought.
No, I'm good. I love what you're saying. I'm so grateful to be here, and thank you so much. And I'm just, my brain's mush. You can see how some of you are like, how does this get in your head? And you're able to spit it out.
I thoroughly enjoy it. It's so fun to watch the mad scientist in you, Mark. So it's a blast. It's a blast. And I echo these concepts. Again, they really do align with what we do here at Credit Suite. And this is why it's so important for business owners to set up their entities correctly, to have all their ducks in a row. They can still take action today. I think there are some things, if they didn't take action already, that's hard, and they won't be able to take advantage of some of those strategies, but there's plenty that business owners can do today. And we want them to take advantage of all of that.
For sure. Well, my heart goes out to all of you. Don't give up. The American dream is still alive and real. It's hard whether you work for someone or hard whether you're a sole proprietor. Think about this. I know some of you that own a small business, you're like, this is so hard, but I get it. I'm a small business owner. But how many millions of Americans got fired? They just got fired. At least you've got an idea of how you might be able to make money. Maybe your business got decimated, but you have the knowledge and the experience to start over and be your own boss. There's 25 million people on unemployment that have applied for unemployment just in the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
So if you're a small business owner just getting your piece of the stimulus, be grateful at least you have a concept to run with. It's just really tragic out there. So
it is.
Hang in there. Keep doing your podcast with Megan and all the webinars. They're there to teach you, to help you get the access to capital you need. Don't give up. Keep trying. And it's a journey, not a race. It's not a 100-meter race. Don't worry about what people are doing around you. Pack your bag and hit the road, climb the mountain, and move at your own pace.
I agree. I think that's great wisdom. And I know you're an experienced business owner yourself. And so I think just me knowing that context, I think it should give us all a little peace of mind. I think there's a lot of wisdom in pack your bag, have your plan, stay true to it, and keep walking. And I think a lot of times we may be tempted to give up when things get rough, but I think that entrepreneurial spirit is what keeps us going. And I'm so grateful for that. So,
one last thing, if I can,
yes.
you get to markjkohler.com right here. I've got a little quarantine special. I normally only do for 24 hours during Cyber Monday once a year, and I knock 90% off all my videos. I've got 3 hours of content just on stimulus package in there. So if you want to study at home, it's like 99 bucks. It's a great little deal to get education that I update year after year. I've been doing it for 9 years. It's a lifetime little access to all the little videos I shoot every year. So it's a steal. I'm doing it. And when the last state drops their shelter in place, my deal is over. So check it out. It's the quarantine special.
I'm so interested. Yeah. How long will it take? So I appreciate that. I think you have such great information. I do want people to check out your website. Of course, we'll get your contact information posted so everybody can get easy access to that. And then, did you have a thought?
No, I'm good.
I don't read you, but yeah.
We're getting used to each other here. I know usually many of you don't know, Megan and I are on the phone or texting. Literally. Yes. We rarely kind of see each other's face. We're trying to read each other here, and I can't see her. She's down here. So if I go like this, everybody just sees the top of my head. I've been using Nioxin. I'm trying to, look at that. No bald spot.
Look at that.
I'm trying. I got to look young. Many say I look like a millennial. It's a curse. I'm trying. So I'll look up here at you.
No, it's perfect. And you're right. We don't get to work together very often. We're often working in parallel, running as fast as humanly possible. I think we've been saying for over a year we wanted to do this and connect, and here we are. So I think I'm just grateful for that, and grateful for all the knowledge that you've been able to share. And yeah, we'll get this out to everybody because I think it's great information. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to make sure and post all the great contact details that Mark highlighted. And then of course, you can always come visit us here at Credit Suite. We are here to help guide you through these times. We can help you establish your business credit reports, make sure your business is prepared to get financing, and help you, utilize that business credit report to get the financing that you need. So always here, just a phone call, email away, and we'd love to help in any way that we can. So thank you so much for your time, everybody. And thank you so much for your time, Mark.
Thank you. We'll get back together here soon. Thanks.
Yes, we will. Take care.
You've been listening to the Business Credit and Financing Show with your guest host, Megan Christensen. Watch for our next episode to get even more insight on financing and growing your business. And don't forget to check us out online at creditsuite.com for even more business growth strategies.